Riverside.
Welcome, everyone, to the most ill-conceived business podcast around, the Business is Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick. Joining me are, well, Jon and Jared. I don't have a witty lead-in this week. Didn't think of one ahead of time. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, buddy. There's like a lot going on in your world right now. You made some big announcements this week on the internets. It's crazy. You want to lead with that?
So, by the time this gets produced, it'll be 2 weeks old. But yes, I have officially left my company, Hirewell, of 20 years. And you guys know this. People who talk to me a lot know this. But I've been a options trader for 10 years, part of the nerdy side of my brain. I'm doing that full time. Might be launching a company out of it at some point, or just doing it independently. Not sure yet, but taking the leap, betting on myself, and just doing something totally different because I'm totally over recruiting.
Dude, that's 20 years. That's two decades, man. Did you get a gold watch or anything? Or?
No watch. Might get a happy hour. We'll see. It's being planned.
Okay.
Ooh,
all right.
Big happy hour.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's good. Good for you, dude. I mean, I know that's been your passion and you followed it. Dude, leaving a company after 20 years is very hard because it is 100% outside of the comfort zone that you built over the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's transition.
So this is like, tomorrow is taking my last day, but the last 2 days have been like, I've transitioned everything. So I'm just like waking up. I'm like, I don't have any meetings. Like, what do I do all day?
So why don't we
also slightly terrifying.
Cuts the next scene. He's in sweatpants eating cereal, you know, on the couch at 4 in the PM.
Devolve into quickly.
Yeah.
How many new shows you started watching?
Oh, geez. So I started watching The Lazarus Project, which I did 2 seasons. I think it was like a British show on Sky, but it's on Netflix. Very good sci-fi. Okay. And I'm actually doing a documentary now. The Netflix Turning Point to Vietnam is actually... So obviously everyone knows about Vietnam, but when you watch like a really in-depth documentary about it, like the level of idiocy involved is just mind-boggling at every turn. So highly recommend it if you want to get completely enraged at our political system more than you are now.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, that's
well, I'll say this: like, dude, hopefully you take a little time to breathe before. I know you already have kind of been doing this, but the idea of being able to wake up, probably go to the gym, have some breakfast, sit down, and just binge on Netflix for a few hours, is magical. So good for you.
Probably doing that for at least a week or two, but then I'll go stir crazy. But thank you. Anyway,
whose audio is all jacked up right now?
Jon's.
Jon, God damn it!
I can tell.
I'm gonna leave. I'll be right back.
Where were we? Am I starting the whole thing over again?
No,
I think we can patch it in.
All right, getting into a topic for today. If this looks really choppy, it's because we had 20 minutes of audio issues. Anyways, we're gonna rant on founders. I originally wanted to call the episode "Founders Are Bullshit," but I knew that was gonna make Jared lose his mind. But founder Mystique specifically. So let me kind of lead this up because 2 things I noticed in the past couple weeks. Buddy of mine came back from Hawaii. I forget which island, but it's the one that Zuckerberg purchased a shit ton of land on. You guys follow the story? You ever hear about this?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah.
So this is a few years back, and there were lawsuits involved. But apparently, he purchased like over 2,000 acres on Kauai, and basically trampled everything to the point where he was like building stuff on top of like ancestral burial grounds and shit like that, you know, like stuff that's supposed to be partitioned off, like stuff that's like sacred, you know what I mean? And then was suing everybody for his right to do it. And like the locals were losing their mind, like this like billionaire neo-colonialism and, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's just been tied up in the courts, you know. Meanwhile, there's like other like rich people who have gone to Hawaii and actually like purchase land to make sure it stays like kind of quasi-public land. It doesn't get people kind of organic farms. It's like people have actually done the right thing. And it made me think like, do you remember when Zuck was actually well regarded? Like early on.
No.
Early on.
I don't.
People thought it was like kind of cool. Like he was like sticking it like to everybody with his new website, you know, and
well, I mean, they made a movie about him, a very successful movie, and I think you saw the side of him that allowed him to become who he is today. You know, I mean,
you saw the publicist
we're not going to hear
him.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't necessarily know if we're going to hear, like, media tends to focus on the good or the bad. There's no in between. They're either going to tell you the story about how great this person is like his philanthropic efforts and all this stuff, or you're going to hear the bad shit. And I feel like, right or wrong, I don't know, but what we hear about right now with him is all the bad shit. That's why he's been out on kind of like a press tour, going on podcasts and kind of showcasing who he is. And I've listened to some of his interviews, and they're actually really good. And I come off kind of liking the guy. But then you hear stories like this where the guy's a complete piece of shit. So,
but look, a few more examples too, because I want to make sure. So Adam Neumann, a WeWork guy, ran a quasi cult and bankrupted the company while walking with billions of dollars of investor money. Not criminal, but like, come on. You got that Uber guy, Travis Kalanick, bro culture, just ran a shitty organization. Everyone hated him. Elizabeth Holmes, fraud scammer. Sam Bankman-Fried, fraud scammer. Everyone thought these people were cool at some point in time because they were founders and they were rich and like potentially successful, but they were all pieces of shit the entire time is kind of my point, right? It's that like I really think that anybody, like we have this tendency to like worship people who are rich and successful without knowing if they're actually good people or not, or even if they're good at their jobs. Like a lot of these people ran their companies into the ground. And also like the other example I'd say too, Jared laid up, this is like anytime NFL, there's an issue with like salary negotiation gone bad. The fans always side with the owners like every single time. Why the fuck is that? Like that's always boggled my mind.
There's a cap. There's a salary cap.
Here's okay. So I actually have a point of view on that. Shockingly, James brings up sports on this podcast for the first time ever. My thought process there is that I genuinely believe that the athletes step away from the negotiating process. I think that most athletes completely stay away from it and depend on their agents to do all the negotiations. And if the agent can negotiate an insane deal, that's great business for that agent moving forward. So right now, like you hear stories like in the media, like there's certain players right now that are holding out or that they haven't signed. And you hear that the players are stepped away, they're completely away from it. But you hear terrible stories about the agents. Now the agents are greedy. And yes, the owners are greedy as well too. Like we know that the owners are greedy. So I think that there's a fine line there on who's the asshole at the end of the day. Dude, football players, like they want to make generational money, and it can be over because those aren't guaranteed contracts in the NFL. It can be over like this. And that team can, if they break a leg and they were going to make so much money in the next contract, that person's career could be over. And then they'd have to go back a few years later and find a real job. So I think the guaranteed money piece of it is unique here.
I'm looking at it from a different angle. What I really mean is like, owners aren't the ones like the people who bring you joy when you watch football, Jared. They're the actual players. They're the ones putting their bodies on the line, the ones showing up every Sunday, the ones, and they're millionaires versus the billionaires. Why is it that the person who actually makes you happy on Sunday is not the one you're rooting for in this negotiation? You know what I mean? It seems fucked up to me that like, I don't care how much money the billionaire owner has, like pay them whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like the salary cap, that's not my problem. Like I don't really it's not my money. Like I don't give a crap, you know? But it's just this weird dynamic where everyone just veers towards, you know, not, anyways, that's my point. But
it's
the last thing I'll say in this.
It's the entertainers versus the people paying the entertainers. It's the same thing for any industry. That's what it comes down to. Like actors, actresses, like who's paying the actors and the actresses. It's a similar play. I understand athletes are a little bit more of it's a different animal, but they're also good entertainers. Yeah.
You hear an entertainer makes like so much money and you think, oh, they're overpaid. Like, okay, but the person who paid them makes way more. You're not like, are you sad for them? Like, where is this coming from?
Depends if the movie doesn't flop.
Yeah. But anyways, the thing is, and now the other thing I want to point out too, because I want to get this off the topic of rich people, because I do think this is I think this is still I think that people in our business world and offices, when they meet or hear about, even locally within here in Chicago, or they meet founders or they hear about them and they're just really awestruck by someone who started a company for the sake of starting it. But like having met lots of these people, and this is what we want to kind of get into, some of them are great, some of them are fucking awful, you know? And I think I want to kind of just talk about like how I think people need to be more objective in how they kind of evaluate who they want to kind of idol worship when it comes to like the business world, because some of these people just aren't worth worshiping.
How about no worshipping though? That's what I think is silly. Like all of these people are like, dude, they're just other humans, you know? And when anytime we put somebody up on this pedestal, all we I think do is just negate, you know, so many other things. And we're just giving, like, if we go back to the billionaires, like, all right, hey, we're just creating these oligarchs, right? And we're going to allow them to do whatever they're going to do, whether it's destroy Indian burial grounds or whatnot. Or when somebody just comes up and says, hey, they're a founder, I think one of the main things that I look at is like, all right, cool. Hey, that took something. But that doesn't mean it doesn't take something for that guy to work 60 years at the post office. You know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've been on both sides of the track. When I was not a founder and I was working for somebody else, I looked at founders and still do to a sense and say, like, that person like took the risk of leaving the real world, right? And starting their own company and doing their own thing, and probably failed a bunch on the way to do it. And I think that that's one aspect of entrepreneurship that people look up to. And I think it's okay to look up to that, you know, but I think when you start to look at like the success that certain entrepreneurs and founders have and say, that's what I want, that's my goal and all this stuff, and like worshiping that, James, like you said, like without actually really knowing those people or understanding potentially the bad shit that they did to get there, or the amount of failures that they had to get there that you don't know about, like all that stuff. I think that that's where it becomes kind of like that. Now that I am a founder, it's like, yeah, sure. It's great. But dude, there's some really, really, really shitty, terrible, like shitty parts of being a founder that absolutely blow.
Everyone who had a buyout, merger and acquisition, or private equity buyout story probably had, and they were an employee, probably had a founder that like screwed them over somehow. You know, it's like the same people. I think that the other reason why I said those two reasons, because I was talking to a group of people, a few founders. They were nice enough guys, right? And they're nothing like terribly bad about them. But I asked the one, like, why he was kind of getting into what made you want to start this, and he just immediately goes into like the multiples he thinks he could get, and how like in a few years he thinks he could cash out, and there's a huge market. Like, wasn't talking about I want to build a good company, I'm really passionate about the product, or really like it was just like, how can I get rich quick was like the entire like reasoning, which I don't know. It just
he's not gonna make it. No, he's not gonna make it. If you're not focused on your customers, like I don't see how that's even possible. If in the value that you provide or the connection that you make with them, maybe some if it's just like a really shitty business. But yeah, I'd be really surprised if that guy enterprises his numbers.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, if you're just there to get rich and you're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks, and what's the one that's going to get you rich and you don't care?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in businesses where it was just for the money, or I've chased money, and it's just, oh man, it's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, but I do agree that there's different types. Like, founders aren't a monolith, right? There's multiple types of founders that are out there. So, and I think that we're going to probably hit on a lot of this stuff today, but so yes, bringing it all back to what you said, James, I absolutely do believe that there's this culture of people worshiping founders and thinking that like they're the greatest people. A lot of them are really, really great people, but a lot of them are not, right? And a lot of what we see like on social media platforms or we see on TV or whatever is just it's just not real.
So much of it is, I think it's driven by, maybe first let's get into like kind of why this kind of worshiping happens. I think that I don't want to say uniquely American, but I do think it's like part of our culture that like this individualism, like people who go and take a chance, like it's definitely like we really hold that in high regard, which isn't a bad thing per se, but I do think it's the kind of thing where we probably give it more credence maybe people in other cultures would that aren't kind of capitalist. But it's also like, whether it's journalists or venture capital, like the media, like they're the ones who made sandbanking a pretty big deal. You know what I mean? By holding up them and the VCs, right? So it was very much like media in the crypto space, like talking about how great this guy was a visionary. Then all the VCs who were backing him want to kind of build up his brand. And then it became a personal brand thing, Jared, your wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Like it's very much like, it's like a reinforcing thing when they actually make it part of like the company's identity, to kind of build these people up. And then I think when we have that in the back of our minds, that makes like founder worship and like kind of a thing. It's just we've normalized in our own minds because of like it's the amount of VCs, journalism, social media, their own interest as their marketing plan to like make it a big thing. I think. Well,
sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finishing up that point.
The only two that I think it's that. I think it's people with a lot of charisma. But also I think the one thing is like survivorship bias. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. Like everyone can think of some amazing founders off the top of their head, both at a national, global scale, and also probably locally. Everyone fucking forgets about the amounts that were failures, the amounts that went to jail, the amounts that screwed people over. You know what I mean? Like those aren't like the stories that people kind of hold on to. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think I think you guys would agree, and John, especially you have your own company. Like, before I started this, it was almost like I looked at like founders and said like they handle adversity better as a founder than I do an executive or a VP or an employee, or failure means a lot more to them than it does to me, right? And it was almost like I'm going to take a massive chance, which I did, right? And failure's failure. Like, adversity is adversity. I've dealt with adversity, dealing with it right now. We failed on some things, right? It didn't mean it didn't feel different than it did when I was working for somebody else. It all still sucks, right? So I think that's maybe one of those false narratives that I created before I started. It's harder. I would say that it's definitely harder working for yourself than it is working for somebody else, because you have so many other people that you can lean on at a company and talk to. Whereas as a founder, and hide 100%, hide is a big one. As a founder, you're kind of on an island, right? Unless you surround yourself with other people that are going through the exact same shit. And I do have 2 co-founders. I don't talk to them a lot about some of this stuff. I need to lean on other entrepreneurs like John that have gone through this and can talk me off the ledge sometimes.
I think the failures are immense, right? And I think there's kind of like 2 different ones. I think a lot of people, there's bankable founders. That means they've actually had some great successes, and there's a lot of luck that has to be involved in that. Anyone that you're talking to that did it and they're like, oh, it was just hard work or whatever, like if you really boil it down and they're actually humble, you're gonna get that luck piece out of it. But dude, I've had immense failures. I mean, I was totaling up some of them the other day, and no, seriously.
John's like, I'm sad. Let's see how much sadder I can get.
Yeah. And and I think it's important. It's just like, okay, it's like all these things were attempted. You can say whatever the hell you want to say, right? And it actually does take something to get kicked in the teeth, get your ass kicked, and pick up and do it again. If you just do it once, fuck you. I got no respect for you. But if you keep going and you're in the hunt and you hustle and you're like Ray Kroc, just getting ripped off and doing whatever and keep going, dude, I love you, man. We're probably going to be able to sit down and share a beer.
Is Ray Kroc the guy you want to lay down for?
No, but that's the thing. Things are 3D, right? I mean, I don't know. There's probably some awful, I don't know if he sexually abused people or he was a racist or anything.
They made a whole movie about it.
All right, I didn't see the movie. I didn't see the movie, okay? All right, I didn't. But
wait, what movie? Who is it?
I think it's actually called Founder, if I'm not mistaken.
Something, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
but
he didn't actually found
He
McDonald's.
did.
He ripped it off from the guys.
Oh,
who
that
did.
guy.
He did.
That guy. Okay.
Maybe that's a terrible example. All right, so, but what I'm saying is, it's we talked about like that hustle culture or whatever. No, I think it's just a person that just keeps going and going and going. It's like that quote that Teddy Roosevelt said. The man in the arena, right? I don't know the exact quote, but it's essentially, if you're the guy with the blood and the sweat and, all that on your face, or the woman, like, that's the one that's doing it, not the critic that's on the outside.
Way to be PC there, John. I'm proud of you. You're coming a long way since we started this.
Yeah. He hasn't said anything cancelable yet. We're 20 minutes in.
There's still time.
This is
There's
something.
still time.
Anyways.
I can shift this, though. I mean, I think there's another point, too. It's just we look at, like, Zuck's reputation or any of these other reputations. Now, granted, doing something in the Indian burial ground, that's terrible. I don't know if that's, one of the other social media founders that's doing it.
Wasn't Indian. It was in Hawaii, but yeah.
I guess that's the PC thing right there. Okay, whatever, man. I mean, Native American, right? That's Native American. All right.
No, it's not.
It's not. Well,
actually, John, keep trying. Keep going.
Hawaiians. All right. Are we good there? Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, like Polynesian, but yeah.
I don't know. We can get out a fucking map, Rand McNally. I don't even know where we're going with it. The point I'm making is, going back to that. All right, so like people are 3D. Like you can do a lot of these great things, but you can do a lot of these bad things. But at the end of the day, like any of these leaders that we look at, and I'm not trying to make excuses for any of them, they're all human. There's always going to be bodies, especially the harder that they climb and the harder that they go. And I think that's actually a limiter to a lot of us, because we might not be that psychopath. we might not be able might not be able to be that killer. Like I've talked to people when their companies failed. It's like, hey, what happened? It's like, man, there was these people I couldn't let go, and I held on to them all the way to the end, right? And there's others that they're able to progress and get through that, and there's that humility there. But I think ultimately I'm losing my train of thought, so I'm just going to put a period here and hope that Jared edits this part out.
Yeah, no, that actually gets me on, because I was conceptualizing the founders that I've met, because I put them in categories, right? And some are good, some are bad, right? But I kind of think it this way. One, there are great people with great ideas. They're passionate about it. They want to see it through. They want to make a change in an industry or their customer, whatever. Like, that's great. That's a quarter of them. You know what I mean? Second is people who are just sick of working for other people. That's also great. That's Jared. It's probably you after your last role. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, honestly, that's probably every founder on some level, right? Like but there are people that just start their own thing because like it's time for me to do my own thing. Third, and I think this is the one, like there are con artists and scammers. And even within this, I think people need to realize some people view it, some of these people, they're not con artists or they're not criminals, but it's a get rich quick scheme for them to get wealthy. They're not actually trying, it's like it's their lottery ticket. They're not actually trying to improve their community or their employees or customers. Right. But then there's the other ones, people who are actual criminals, which I think is a different category. Because one thing I've always, I've had this conversation a few times. People don't realize if you have a criminal record, you probably can't get a regular job. Like you can't pass a background check. So what do you do at that point? You become an independent contractor or you start a company. Like the amount of people I've known who like had a record or like shady characters, then you find out later on, oh, they started this company because that's a thing, So there's a certain criminal element always kind of like, I'm just, this is a small percentage. I'm not, again, I need to.
No, I've met one of these guys. He actually owned a recruiting company. It's funny you mention that.
It's just plenty of them out there that you don't realize it because it's like they don't have to submit a background check. You're never going to find out. But that's why I'm always cautious of anytime I'm meeting a small company founder, no matter who they are, just like trying to get to understand like what their background is, because you just never know, like they could be far shadier than they actually present themselves as.
Well, charisma does not equal competence.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's important to understand that because people can have the greatest charisma, but you can't like assume that they're competent with running a business or they have a clean background, like similar to what you're saying.
Yeah. And they could probably spit game and sound super impressive until you really kind of peel back the layers. And the last one, maybe the most of those, people are just born with money that, like, whatever, I guess I'll own a company that don't actually have any qualifications whatsoever to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
everyone loves those types.
I know, but those are the ones, like, we've talked about that before. You're just kind of like, dude, daddy gave it to you, bro. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Like the guy that goes, like Howard Schultz from like, the slums of Brooklyn or something to being the CEO of, Starbucks, building it and whatnot. And then, anybody else that's in the realm of, daddy handed it to him to get there. I mean, dude, he's going to win the cock off. Let's be real.
Yeah. There we go.
There it is. All right. I love it, John.
I mean, we should.
We're going to keep that one in. Few builds on top in terms of founders that I know, right? That I've talked to and how they kind of fell into it in some cases. Like there's accidental founders that solved their own problem and then stumbled into a market and they realized that they could solve that problem for other people. And they never planned on starting their own business. Some founders are just unemployable because of who they are, right? Their egos are so big. They can't work for somebody else. They're stubborn. They don't like following rules, whatever that is. And that's fine, right? Mm-hmm. If you are like a lifelong entrepreneur and nobody would actually ever hire you, but you could be good at your job and do that, right?
Quick story about that. Had dinner with a buddy of mine last night. He's a CEO. I'm not going to call him out, of a very successful company. He does tons of acquisitions. And we were talking about that. I was like, hey, because one of his companies got acquired. I was like, what was it like for you to go from getting acquired to being an employee? He's like, it was the worst 3 years of my life. He said, you have all this freedom and so on and so forth. And then it's stripped away from you. He's like, I'll tell you what though. He's like, I'm stronger than most. I was like, well, why is that? He said, most of the acquisitions that they do with the founders, they're 1, 2, 3 year earnouts, so on and so forth. He said, most of them don't even last 4 months. He said, it's just that whole just shock to your ego. You lose all your power, lose all your control, and you're just like, all right, you're just going to leave a bunch of money on the table.
Yeah. I have a good friend that exited his business and started to work for the company that acquired, and he'll tell you, like, it was the hardest time of his professional career, having to work for somebody else. And now he started his own thing and he's back to crushing it again. But, you know, there's that mindset. You have to, I feel like there's a wiring in there somewhere as well. Like, you have to be wired
like a maverick. It's just you can go all over and do whatever you want, but now you're harnessed, bridled.
The last founder that I noted was the serial founder that's just starting a bunch of different shit, throwing it at the wall and hoping that something sticks. There's no real passion behind it. It's just commitment. It's just like, which one of these can get me money the fastest? That's the one that I want to go with.
I tried that. It didn't work. I will never do that again.
I've met some of those people. I just don't know how they have the energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like
crazy.
I had a lot more energy, and I had all these different things I started up. But now, I killed all of them. In fact, I killed one even a week ago, and it's just like, okay, I'm doing one thing.
Do you, with those other ones you started, did you give a shit about the end user that you were ultimately selling to? Maybe not give it. That's not a good way to phrase it. Like, because I feel you have to have a passion for the people you're working with, that you're going to do a great job for them to help them better themselves, better their career, their company, whatever that ends up being. Did you feel like you had that with all the companies that you were starting at the same time?
Yeah, I think I was passionate about all of them. Some were integrated, right? And I've sold off some. But I think just studying anything that really works, and there's some people like a Jack Dorsey or something. Dude, I'm not Jack Dorsey. Like, I got to do one thing and slim it down as much as I can and just do it really, really well from a company standpoint, rather than have all of these different little things that are moving around. I just found it wasn't productive. And I had a huge opportunity just the other day that I turned down because I just couldn't stand some of the people that were involved in the project, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't want to take a call from you guys on a Saturday. I was like, no fucking way. So, so turned it down. But yeah, I think sticking to one thing, being obsessive and committed to that is the best way to do it. If not, you're literally deluding yourself.
What, can you tell the story about at one point a few years ago, maybe you were going to start a company around nuts? That's a great story.
Yeah, no, it was, I was actually trying to acquire it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a nut company that was like, like big salty nuts. I can't even remember the name. And I love the idea. We went, but speaking to the owner, and there's a ton of different companies out there that have this, by the way. I mean, this one just had a little bit of edge, which I'm not going to give away because that would kind of communicate who this person was. But speaking to the owner, I realized, like, he wanted to be partners. We couldn't buy him out. I was like, this guy's absolutely delusional. Like, you start talking, you're like, whoa, this guy's talking about like conspiracy theories, and like he's thinking that nuts are gonna help, cure diseases and stuff. I was like, that may be true, but that's not the conversation you want to have when you're about to buy into something.
Yeah, I liked it. I think it was right, something like that, where you were gonna play on that.
Yeah. I think it was that or something.
Yeah,
but I need you to blurt that out because this is.
Oh, is that what you didn't want me to say?
Anyways, we had to blurp out a double innuendo, not because it was inappropriate, but because it was specifically what John didn't want us to say, the name of the company. It was funny regardless, so you can make your own determination how that went down. I knew there was going to be some sort of a W, and as soon as you mentioned a nut company, I'm like, here it comes, I'm waiting for it. And then John didn't say it, and then Jared blurts it out. I'm like, I didn't see that one coming. Anyways.
Yeah. Good times.
I'm gonna tell one of my favorite. I love zero to hero stories. Right, we're talking about like founder worship, and I guess, and I think it's important not to worship these people because you don't know all of the little things that happened, and in most cases you wouldn't trade your life with theirs because you would have to give away all your stuff. But there's something to be said about like Jean-Paul DeLorean. I love that guy's story. I mean, he he was homeless, like he was a Bible salesman. I mean, I think he was in foster care when he was a kid. He's also half Greek, which I love. But he started this company when he was 36, and they were essentially just creating a shampoo that they were going door to door with. And each step by step, brick by brick, built, Paul Mitchell into, what it is today. I don't know if it has the same gravitas as it does. And of course he created Patron. But if I was to say that I had to worship one of these guys, I'd say that's probably one of them. Like, cause that's just ultimate kick-ass to me. Living in his
Good
car,
one.
bro. Living in his car. Or Herb Kelleher,
there's-
too. That's also a great one, dude. The Southwest guy. You know? Fucking. He was mowing down cigarettes in his office until the day that he quit. I love that, man. He was like in his 80s, just, chain smoking and, making which used to be a great company, which now is, kind of just a tube with, weird colored paint on it and just being like every other airline. Sad.
Ooh, second dump we've done
the-
on Southwest.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of depressing though, and again it's private equity.
Yeah, they went from singing songs where some people, were, suing them over, I guess, because they extrapolated things out of, some of the children's songs that they shouldn't have, to and saying, hey, we're going to keep doing that, and just being, quirky as they are. But yeah, they just literally went see a sameness, which to me is that just sucks, man.
Yeah. There's a million good founder stories. I know that we dumped on some of the aspects of being an entrepreneur and being a founder, but I still, who knows what's going to happen and with my career, John, your career, James, like where we all end up. But I love being a founder. I think it's great. You take the good with the bad of it. But I know that I'm in it for the right reason, right? I know why I want to do it. And
why is that?
Well, the freedom is big, but I also like putting together solutions to help people. Like we would potentially pivot if I kept hearing something that I'm challenged with, this is a pain in the ass or whatever that is. My brain automatically goes to, well, how can we help them solve that? Like, is that something we can tie into what we're currently doing? Right. And I like that problem solving and figuring out how we can do that. Maybe that's part of me and my sales background. And that's probably with a lot of salespeople, is that we say yes too much, right? We say yes to a lot of stuff because we just think that we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's, I think the next stage of like being that salesperson is just having your own company. I don't know. Maybe I'm off there, but that's kind of what I love about it.
I mean, sales is a huge part of it. Yeah. And if you can't sell, I mean, better find somebody that can.
Cool.
I got nothing. Is that a wrap?
Yeah.
That's all right.
They're right there.
I every time there's that pause, I always look at James and just assume he's got
like,
something else. And
I got shit else. No, that was it. That's a wrap
hey,
for
whoa,
episode
whoa,
20.
hold on. You are an entrepreneur now.
Boom, boom, boom.
Like
I'm
you
more of a
are
solopreneur right now.
No, that's the same thing.
right.
You are a
Get
founder.
there.
You are starting your own thing now. So, welcome to the. I wish we had drinks. Welcome.
Yeah, do you have
to
a
the
company
party.
name? Like, is there like you want to sponsor
No,
this
not yet.
episode?
No, it's. I mean, I'm right now. I'm just.
Should we come up with a name on the fly?
So
Yeah,
I don't really need
drywall.
a company for that even.
Drywall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drywall.
Yeah.
Drywall trading.
Yeah.
Drywall. It's got to be drywall. There's a story there. If anybody ever sees James in person, ask him about the drywall story.
Pump, no dump trading.
Can't wait. What'd you say, John?
Pump, no dump.
Betty Nick, we're really excited about investing in my company named Pump No Dump. Anyways. That is a wrap for episode 21 of the Business of Bullshit podcast. Catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. James Hornick, Jared Gibson, Jon Tsourakis signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit.
There you go.
See you.